You told yourself you'd stop doing this. You'd stop checking how far ahead they are. Stop scrolling through someone else's highlight reel and measuring your life against it. Stop doing the math on where you should be by now, based on where someone else already is. But you can't stop because it happens before you even realize it. A friend gets promoted. A classmate buys a house. Someone your age is living the life you thought you'd have by now. And just like that, a quiet voice inside says, "What's wrong with me?" If comparison is something you know you shouldn't do but can't seem to quit, this video is going to explain why your brain keeps doing it and what actually helps. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Comparing yourself to others isn't a bad habit. It's a biological function. Psychologist Leon Festinger proposed this in 1954. He called it social comparison theory, the idea that humans have an innate drive to evaluate themselves by looking at other people. Not because we're insecure, because we literally don't know how we're doing without a reference point. Think about it. How do you know if you're successful? Smart? Attractive? Doing well in life? There's no objective scale, so your brain does the only thing it can. It looks around and measures you against the people nearby. This was useful when we lived in small groups. You compared yourself to 20 or 30 people, most of whom lived similar lives. The information was realistic. It helped you adapt. But now, you're comparing yourself to thousands of people, most of whom you've never met, through a screen that only shows you their best moments. Your brain is running ancient software in a modern world, and it's breaking you. Not all comparison works the same way. Psychologists describe two types. Upward comparison is when you look at someone who seems to be doing better than you, more successful, more attractive, more together. This is the one that stings. It creates a gap between where you are and where you think you should be. And that gap fills with shame, inadequacy, and self-doubt. The tricky part is that upward comparison can sometimes motivate you. Seeing someone achieve what you want can inspire action. But research shows that this only works when you believe the gap is closable, when you think, "I can get there too." When the gap feels permanent, when you think, "I'll never be that," it doesn't motivate, it paralyzes. Downward comparison is when you look at someone who seems to be doing worse than you. This one feels like relief. It temporarily boosts your self-esteem. At least I'm not in that situation. But it's a fragile kind of comfort. It doesn't build real confidence, it just borrows it from someone else's struggle. And here's what most people don't realize. The direction doesn't matter as much as the frequency. If you're constantly comparing, up or down, you're outsourcing your sense of self. You're building your identity on a foundation that shifts every time you open your phone. If comparison is universal, why does it consume some people more than others? The answer almost always goes back to how your sense of self was built. If you grew up in an environment where your worth was tied to achievement, grades, performance, being the best, you learned that your value is relative. You're only good if you're better than someone else. That's not confidence. That's a ranking system disguised as identity. Children who received conditional approval, love that depended on being impressive, successful, or easy, develop what psychologists call contingent self-worth. Their sense of value isn't internal. It depends on external validation. And when your worth is external, comparison isn't just a habit. It's a survival strategy. You have to keep checking where you stand because your entire sense of self depends on it. Social media makes this exponentially worse. Platforms are designed to surface the most enviable content. You're not seeing reality, you're seeing a curated performance, but your brain doesn't know that. It processes what it sees as real data and adjusts your self-evaluation accordingly. The result is a generation of people who know intellectually that comparison is unfair, but feel emotionally incapable of stopping. If this is hitting close to home, take a second and subscribe. Every video on this channel is about understanding patterns like this one. And if you want to go deeper after this video, we've built a workbook that walks you through this step by step. We'll tell you more about it at the end. Chronic comparison doesn't just make you feel bad, it rewires how you experience your own life. When you're constantly measuring yourself against others, you lose the ability to enjoy what you have. A promotion doesn't feel good because someone else got a bigger one. A relationship doesn't feel enough because someone else's looks better online. Your progress doesn't register because you're too busy looking at someone else's finish line. Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill, but comparison adds a twist. It's not just that you adapt to what you have, it's that what you have actively feels worse when you see what someone else has. Your own life becomes the before picture in someone else's transformation story. And perhaps the deepest cost, you stop asking, what do I want? And start asking, what should I want? Your goals become borrowed. Your timeline becomes someone else's. And the life you're building starts to feel like it belongs to a stranger. So how do you stop, or at least change your relationship with comparison? It starts with one shift. Stop treating comparison as information and start treating it as a signal. When comparison hits, it's not telling you that you're behind. It's telling you that something in you feels unresolved, an insecurity, a fear, an unmet need. The comparison is the symptom, not the problem. So instead of reacting to the comparison, get curious about what's underneath it. You see someone's success and feel crushed. Ask yourself, what am I actually afraid of here? That I'm not enough? That I wasted time? That I'll never get there? That's the real conversation, not the one about their promotion. Then pay attention to when it happens. Comparison doesn't show up randomly. It's triggered by specific people, specific platforms, specific moments. Maybe it's every time you open Instagram. Maybe it's after family dinners. Maybe it's one particular friend whose updates always leave you feeling hollow. Track the pattern, name the triggers, because once you see them, they lose some of their power. Here's another thing that helps. Stop comparing their outside to your inside. You're seeing their results. You're not seeing their anxiety, their 3 a.m. doubts, or the things that fell apart before the thing that worked. You're comparing your rough draft to their published version. That's not a fair read of either story. And maybe the most important shift, replace ranking with direction. Comparison asks, am I ahead or behind? But that question is a trap. There will always be someone ahead. A better question is, am I moving towards something that matters to me? You can be behind someone by every external measure and still be exactly where you need to be. Finally, curate what you consume. If certain accounts or people consistently make you feel worse about yourself, limit your exposure. This isn't weakness, it's self-awareness. You wouldn't keep eating something that made you sick and call it discipline. You started comparing yourself to others because your brain was trying to figure out where you stand. That's not a flaw, it's human wiring, but somewhere along the way, comparison stopped being information and started becoming identity. You stopped using it to navigate and started using it to punish yourself. The goal isn't to never compare again. That's unrealistic. The goal is to notice when you're doing it and to gently bring your attention back to your own life, your own path, your own pace. If you want to work through this pattern step by step, we've created a workbook for exactly that. The Break the Comparison Loop workbook. 14 days of guided exercises to help you recognize your triggers, rebuild internal benchmarks, and stop measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel. The link is in the description. If this video helped you see something more clearly, leave a comment. Tell me, who or what do you compare yourself to most? And what would change if you stopped? And if you're new here, this channel is about understanding the patterns running your life, so you can finally start choosing differently. Subscribe if that sounds like something you need. I'll see you in the next one.